James Comey, former FBI director. Is he calling for the murder/assassination of President Donald Trump? Well, I don't know. Let's cover this story a little bit. It's a bit of a reach if you ask me, but he's getting visited by the Secret Service, and normally I would say, you're reaching, this is ridiculous." But given how corrupt Comey was and all the bullshit that he's responsible for, and what the Democrat Party has been doing, weaponizing the DOJ and the justice system for the past, at least 4 years. Um, you know, when Biden was in office, I think there was something like 72 instances where, crazies that are like Republican leaning or on the right made online threats against Biden. Those people were actually arrested and charged. And now we have President Trump, who's actually had multiple assassination attempts on him already. And the left, who uses crazy, violent rhetoric. So, yeah, I think maybe if President Trump's involved, you should be taking it a little more serious because these crazies have literally already tried to take him out. Now, I had to look up what this even meant because I didn't know, but apparently it's a thing. So I'll read a little bit here and we'll play what Tulsi Gabbard said on Jesse Waters' Fox show. But Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said the ex-FBI Director James Comey should be put behind bars for a post he made on Instagram Thursday, allegedly issuing a call to assassinate President Donald Trump. Earlier on Thursday, Comey shared pictures on Instagram with seashells formed in the numbers 8647. To some, the number 86 is a call sign for murdering or getting rid of someone, or something, and 47 is typically referring to President Trump because he's the 47th president. Comey's post quotes said, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk," Comey wrote in the caption of the picture, which has since been deleted. So this is what annoys me also. He posts it acting all innocent like he just happened to come across this shell formation. Yeah, right, jackass. You made it or you had somebody with you make it real quick and you took a picture. You did it. Now, when I first saw it, I thought it was like a Star Wars reference, like the Execute Order 66. I thought it was like a 66. I never heard of the whole 86 thing. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, no, it just means like get rid of. But then other people are saying it has mob ties where they would use code for, getting rid of someone. But again, normally I would say this is an overreaction, but given the crazies on the left have already turned to violence and have been doing so for a while, and at least two prominent assassination attempts have already been attempted on President Trump. So people tend to forget the main one we all know, Butler, Pennsylvania, which likely locked him the presidency. There was also on his golf course the crazy guy with Ukrainian ties that was there with weapons, and Secret Service shot rounds at him. So that one didn't get as much publicity or news. So normies might not even really know about it. But basically, given the fact that people that are Republicans that were threatening Biden, which I'm not supportive, but given they were actually arrested and charged, then yeah, I have no problem with them going after people like James Comey or people on the left that are making these threats online because they've been doing it for a while. And I'm tired of the spineless Republicans and conservative right just always trying to take the high road. No, we can't stoop to their level. We have to play nice because once they get power, we have power now, but once they get power, they'll wield it against us. And it's like, wake the F up. They've already been doing it. They've already been doing it. And normally I would say, yeah, that's commendable and honorable to take the high road and do things right. But if you have one side that's willing to lie, cheat, steal, and do what is ever necessary to push their agenda forward with no remorse and no morals, and you have the other side saying, no, we got to be nice, we got to play by the rules, we can't do this, that's too much. What side do you think's going to win? That's where I'm at this point. Like, the left's calling Trump a fascist dictator at this point, but it's like, it's been so corrupt in this country, and we've let the left get away with so much BS that, honestly, sorry, it's going to take a bit of what you consider to be a little authoritarian to fix things. Granted, I would argue all the presidents we've had recently have been doing authoritarian type shit. Let's see, Patriot Act under Bush, Biden, all the people they were going after when Biden was president. Granted, I tend to not want to blame Biden because I don't think the man knew what was going on. But people within his cabinet and within the government at the time, arresting people on the right, censoring people on the right online. So let's play this clip, and then I don't know. We'll give a little reaction. Like I said, normally I'd be like, okay, cool your jets, but
Homeland Security just launched an investigation into former FBI Director James Comey for threatening to 86 President Trump. Comey posted this picture of seashells spelling out 8647, claiming he just ran into him on the beach. Comey says he knew it was a political message, but didn't know what 86 meant. Tulsi Gabbard's the director of national intelligence. Are you buying that the former FBI director didn't know what 86 Trump meant?
Absolutely not, Jesse. That is a ridiculous and insane statement to make, certainly within this context, but especially coming from a guy who's the former director of the FBI, a guy who spent most of his career prosecuting mobsters and gangsters, people who know and execute other humans and use this exact lingo of 86. Comey himself admitted in his follow-on message that he knew that this was a political statement. Well, the only reason he knew that, Jesse, was because a little over a month ago, a bunch of anti-Trump, anti-Elon Musk protesters were proliferating the use of this 8647 slogan, which was a veiled call to action to murder the sitting president of the United States. So for Comey to think that we, the American people, are so stupid as to think that he, as a former FBI director, former prosecutor, and someone who clearly pays attention to what's going on, would believe his lie that he didn't know what this actually was calling for. The dangerousness of this, Jesse, cannot be underestimated. When we have 2 assassination attempts on the president's life, when we have people who look to guys like Comey, who've been celebrated by MSNBC and the Democrat elite and CNN as the beacon of integrity, the law and order guy, the guy who would tell the truth no matter what the consequences. This is the guy who's issuing a hit on President Trump, the president that the American people voted for. So it's guys like Comey and others who call the president the modern day Nazi, people who are in great positions of influence, who are saying that President Trump poses an existential threat to our country. These are people who hate democracy and hate the American people because they cannot stand that the people overwhelmingly chose to elect Donald Trump and send him back to the White House. So they are seeking other means to get their way and to try to remove him from that position.
How serious is the administration taking this, and what are the next steps going to be?
We're taking this very seriously. As you mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security, and specifically Sean Curran, the current Secret Service director, a man who has been willing to lay down his life as the lead of President Trump's Secret Service detail for years now. He takes this seriously and is leading the investigation into this threat. There has to be accountability for this. There was a Rutgers study that just came out a little over a month ago, Jesse, that asked respondents their view on these calls to assassinate President Trump. And over 55% of respondents felt that murdering President Trump would be, quote unquote, somewhat justified. This is the effect of people like James Comey doing this kind of stuff. This study also pointed out that there is a, quote unquote, assassination culture that is starting to take over the views of what they call the extreme left. We, the American people, cannot take this lightly. Whatever your politics, we cannot allow people to get by without being held accountable for this kind of public call to assassinate the President of the United States.
Do you believe that Comey is goading you guys to come after him because he wants to be a political martyr? He wants to be set up so he can say, oh, look, we were right. Donald Trump is a dictator. They're coming after me. They're arresting me. They're interrogating me. I was just using my free speech.
You know, whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who was issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with the crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So whatever James Comey intent, he and people like him need to be held to account according to the law, which is something that he claims to have given his life for and stands by the rule of law. Fantastic. The rule of law says people like him who issue direct threats against the President of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do. Any other person with a position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
Director Gabbard, thank you so much.
Yeah, so she makes a lot of good points. I like Tulsi. She was a former Democrat and has switched sides because she saw how corrupt the Democrat Party was and didn't think there was any fixing it. So I like Tulsi a lot. The Democrat Party threw her aside for Kamala when she toasted Kamala in a debate. And yeah, they chose their candidate unwisely because I've never voted for a Democrat for a presidency since I've been of age to vote. But if Tulsi was the candidate, there's a high likelihood that I would have. I like her, non-interventionist, but she serves in the military, still in the National Guard. Respectable lieutenant colonel. So that was the funny thing about them saying she's a Russian asset. She's a lieutenant colonel in the fucking Air National Guard, or Army National Guard, whichever one. But she's a lieutenant colonel in one of them. Pretty sure they would know if she was some secret Russian asset. You have to be able to obtain a security clearance, and they look into your background and investigate you. So that was hilarious. And, you know, the left knows nothing about that shit, so it doesn't surprise me. But she makes a lot of good points. The average person making these threats online, there's a good chance they would be arrested or, you know, something, charged, convicted, whether, you know, they serve a bunch of jail time or not, but still. So this is, again, why I have no sympathy for people like James Comey. They have no problem being corrupt and going after people. And I think if you're someone with a prominent following online that is making questionable threats or calls to violence, you should be held more accountable than just the average Joe posting something online where not even that many people are going to see it. And if they do see it from some average account, they might just think, oh, look at this whack job calling for violence. But if they see a prominent figure who was like former FBI person, they might be like, huh, okay, yeah, this has some credence. Maybe we do need to do something. So that's where I will agree. And again, I just have no sympathy for these people because of how corrupt and the lies they've been pushing for years. They tried to arrest Donald Trump, got that famous mugshot. Things that are misdemeanors that were past the statute of limitations, they somehow turned into felonies. And all the normies just sit here and they hear felon, 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 felon. And that's all they need to hear. And now they're like, oh, Donald Trump's a felon. You're an idiot. You can go do a little research. But anyways, we'll leave this here. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe at Trad West Podcast on all platforms. Let me know. What do you think? Are they going a little overboard? Does this seem like a dictatorship or a fascist government trying to just arrest people? Hey, or are you more like me, like, hey, you fucking kind of started it. I have no sympathy for you anymore, okay? You tried to jail and did jail many people on the right. So welcome to your own world you created. But we'll end her there. Till next time, Trad West Podcast out.